After 7 years of marriage, the canary Huo had kept said she was bored, turned around and bolted, leaving only one sentence behind. Huo, I've taken enough of your money, and I don't want you anymore. I watched coldly from the sidelines, waiting to see how long Huo could hold out this time. After all, this exact scene had played out time and again over the past 3 years. But this time, he smiled with chilling indifference. A pet? Did you really think I'd care about her? Until soon after, news came of her car crash and death. The man, always cold and heartless, instantly lost his mind. After Lin Miao died, Huo seemed possessed by madness. He locked himself in the study, refusing to eat or drink. I went to knock on his door, but the only response was an icy, "Get lost." I knew he was in a bad mood. I wanted to apologize, but instinctively I shut my mouth, feeling utterly ridiculous. We weren't even divorced yet. He was the one who cheated and changed his heart. Why should I say sorry? I looked at the cold food on the table. The soup I had simmered for 5 hours had congealed on the surface, faintly carrying a fishy smell. So I just threw it all into the trash, just like the bond we had for 20 years. If you don't throw it away, it'll rot and grow maggots, disgusting yourself and others. On the 8th day, Huo finally left the room. He tidied up, shaved, and returned to his former unapproachable demeanor. But his gaze toward me grew darker, as if I were responsible for the death of the woman he loved. I watched him quietly, waiting for him to continue. I knew a storm was coming. Years of knowing each other, 7 years together, from school uniforms to wedding gowns. I always thought we would walk the same path. But halfway through the journey, someone chose to get off. I seemed to have no choice but to accept it. And her? Huo voice was cold and devoid of emotion. After a long silence, I answered softly, "Buried." Huo face instantly darkened, and he looked at me with intense hatred in his eyes. "Meng Jingning, who gave you permission to bury her? With your filthy hands, you dare to touch her?" he said through gritted teeth, his gaze vicious. I could feel that if I weren't pregnant right now, he would have lunged at me and strangled me. But I still overestimated my place in his heart. The next second, he pinned me down on the sofa, his hand tightening around my throat. The last bit of air in my lungs was squeezed out bit by bit. I felt the world spin, darkness closing in, and the sounds around me fading to nothing. His tone was manic. "Did you really think being pregnant would stop me? A bastard like that. Do you actually think I care? Meow Meow is dead. Don't worry, you and that little monster in your belly are next." The terror of suffocation made me want to scream for help, but his grip on my throat was too tight. I couldn't make a sound. I realized Huo really wanted me dead. I don't know how much time passed. The weight on top of me disappeared, followed by the loud slam of a door. My consciousness slowly returned. I sat dazed on the sofa, picked up my phone, and booked an abortion appointment. Huo and I were childhood sweethearts, but also a business marriage. Our parents arranged our engagement when we were 3. We got our marriage license before graduating from college, and our life together was fairly harmonious and happy. Perhaps due to his family environment, Huo was nonchalant about everything, never willing to yield, never knowing how to love, and never saying sweet words. But after marriage, he would prepare small surprises for me, bake a cake for my birthday himself, and then magically produce the necklace I had been longing for. Holding me tightly, he would say, "Ning Ning, I'm not heartless. Give me more time. I'll find a way to love you. Don't be disappointed in me, okay?" At times like that, I would always nod firmly and whisper to him that we had a lifetime together. He would also, in the depths of the night when emotions ran high, lean close to my ear and murmur those intimate words that made one blush. When exactly did it change? Perhaps on the day Huo first met Lin Miao. Because we had stayed up too late the night before, I couldn't get up the next day, so he had to attend the previously arranged event alone. Lin Miao was the other party's assistant, fresh out of college, exuding shyness in every move. Her timid smile was both harmless and endearing. She didn't know how to play golf, so she boldly asked Huo to teach her and later smoothly added him on social media. It took them less than half a month from meeting to being in a relationship, and Lin Miao also quit her job from her previous company and jumped ship to his company. Huo kept her by his side, teaching her every detail, as if meticulously nurturing a rose about to bloom. The ridiculous part is that I never even had a chance to confront Lin Miao directly. Huo Wenzhou hid her well. I tried to investigate but found nothing, and the next day, I would face his wrath. Once, I spent a large sum and finally obtained Lin Miao's personal information, but before I could make a move, the files on my father's mistress were placed in front of me. It wasn't just my father's, almost everyone in my family's secrets were all there. Huo Wenzhou's warning was clear. If I targeted Lin Miao, my family's affairs would be made public immediately. That night, I smashed everything in the villa in front of him, while Huo Wenzhou sat quietly on the sofa, watching me break things with indifference, his gaze as if he were watching a madman. The irony is that now he too has become a madman. Just as I fell asleep that night, his assistant called me. "Miss Meng, CEO Hua is digging up Madam's grave. Please come and stop him." I laughed. I was the real wife Huo Wenzhou married, yet everyone called Lin Miao Madam and referred to me as Miss Meng. Ever since the last time I decided to divorce him and stood him up, Huo Wenzhou directly declared on his official social media that Lin Miao would be his only wife in this lifetime. After that day, I became the laughingstock of the entire city. I twitched the corner of my mouth, my neck still faintly aching. For his matters, go find the Hua family. Don't tell me. It's none of my business. Then I hung up the phone. I never expected Huo Wenzhou would do something as grave as digging up a tomb. Ever since he got together with Lin Miao, we talked about divorce more often than we ate. But not once did it go smoothly. Either I disagreed, or he was called away by Lin Miao for some reason. The most recent time was 2 months ago. Huo Wenzhou was willing to give me half his assets in exchange for a divorce, and I agreed. But the day before we were to get the certificate, I found out I was pregnant and stood Huo Wenzhou up. That day, Huo Wenzhou blew up my phone with calls, and Lin Miao also passed away. After old Master Hua found out, he came to talk to me all night. I could ignore anyone, but I absolutely respected and obeyed old Master Hua. The next day, Huo Wenzhou called off all the people he had sent out and never again searched the world for her like before. We never spoke another word to each other again, and neither of us brought up the divorce. Back then, I thought that even if he didn't care about me, he would at least care about the child. Now, I realized trying to tie a man down with a child was the most pathetic thing I've ever done. The next day, I went through with the abortion. I'm not that noble and I didn't want to be a single mother. I could live without being loved, but my child deserved to be born into a complete family. The surgery was quick. I was discharged and went home that same afternoon. Now that the child was gone, the divorce was just a matter of paperwork. Huo Wenzhou hadn't shown up once during this time. But then again, he was busy scouring the world for his little lover. He refused to believe Lin Miao was really dead. 7 years of marriage, I didn't have too many belongings nor too few. I called someone over and set up a brazier in the yard. I burned everything that could be burned and sold all the jewelry that couldn't. I didn't want to take a single thing of mine from this villa, nor did I want to leave any trace, so I simply burned everything. When Huo Wenzhou came back, he happened to see me throwing the wedding photos into the fire. I was a bit surprised, since I hadn't seen him for over a month. I thought he had gone to die for love. The air was thick with smoke, and his eyes were cold. The way he looked at me was like looking at a dead person. He was holding an urn in his arms. As he passed by me, Huo Wenzhou suddenly reached out and pushed me. If the butler hadn't been quick to catch me, I would probably be disfigured now. A chill suddenly shot up from the soles of my feet. Huo Wenzhou had gone mad. He was taking revenge on me in this way. Huo Wenzhou clicked his tongue, as if a little regretful. "Clean it up." Then he turned and went upstairs. A surge of anger erupted from the bottom of my heart. Huo Wenzhou kept a mistress, I tolerated it. He threatened me with my family, I tolerated it. Lin Miao's repeated provocations, I tolerated them. Getting me pregnant by force while drunk, I tolerated that too. Tolerate, tolerate, tolerate. I've endured for 3 years. Now he openly wants to kill me. I don't want to endure anymore. If that's the case, then let everyone die. I quickly caught up, grabbed Huo Wenzhou's arm to turn him around, and slapped him hard with all my strength. His head turned to the side from the slap, and he stared at me with an extremely cold gaze. Seeing the slap mark on Huo Wenzhou's face, I felt a surge of relief. Tomorrow at 9 in the morning, go get a divorce. Lin Miao's death was not my fault. Don't throw all the blame on me. You know how I got pregnant. The reason I didn't go on the divorce day was because your mother took me back to the old mansion. It was also your mother who personally ordered the burial of your little mistress because she couldn't stand your pathetic appearance. Don't put all the shit on me. In response to my explanation, Huo Wenzhou showed no reaction. I don't care whether he believes it or not. It has nothing to do with me anymore. I've made myself very clear. The moment I left the Huo family villa, I recalled carefully the question Huo Wenzhou asked, "Have you ever tasted the feeling of your beloved dying?" My beloved. What was my answer back then? Oh, I remember now. I said, Huo Wenzhou, you died in my heart long ago. When two people are in love, they see no one else. Back then, I couldn't see Lin Miao. Now Huo Wenzhou can't see me. All these years of feelings. Are you really content with this? Lu Ming is a mutual friend of Huo Wenzhou and me. Throughout this 3-year love triangle, he was the one who passed me all the news about Lin Miao. Content? 7 years of love, hate, and obsession. I did not fantasize that he would change his mind. But when Lin Miao died, I understood. Standing on either side of being chosen, you still lose. I let out a soft laugh, flicking the ash off my cigarette. Ever since I learned of Lin Miao's existence, I picked up the habit of smoking. I don't like drinking, and I'm afraid of doing something I'd regret after a few drinks. So I can only smoke to release myself, trying to give my already numb heart a little relief. Seeing I didn't speak, he continued, Lin Miao is dead. Since you've already endured him for 3 years, why not wait a little longer? He'll come back to you sooner or later. Besides, now you have the child. Even if Zhou agreed, the Huo family wouldn't. I don't need their approval. I hadn't told anyone about aborting the child. Seeing he couldn't persuade me, Lu Ming grew visibly anxious and snapped at me. Are you crazy? That Lin Miao might not even be dead at all. I frowned. What do you mean? He was silent for a long time, then finally gritted his teeth and spilled the whole story. Lin Miao wasn't dead. That caught me off guard. She had stormed off in a fit and gotten into a car accident. Old Master Huo, wanting Huo Wenzhou and me to have a good life together, and with me being pregnant, simply declared her dead and hid her far away to make him give up. But he never expected his grandson to go this far, actually sneaking out to dig up her grave in the middle of the night. Huo's mother was left with no choice. She couldn't bear to watch her son waste away from grief, so she finally relented. They've already brought her back. Lu Ming sighed, still unwilling to give up, and tried to persuade me again. It really doesn't have to end in divorce. Ning, I can tell he has feelings for you. Now that the truth is out, you can safely have this child. With your family and the Huo family keeping an eye on things, even if Lin Miao stirs up trouble, she won't be able to get the upper hand over you. Then, I stubbed out my cigarette and asked calmly, having roughly understood the situation in my mind. He paused, and seeing my expression still indifferent, he swallowed back the rest of his words. I ignored him and continued to ask. Then I would just keep enduring them as before, watching Lin Miao occasionally come and make a scene in front of me. They would continue playing the old game of cat and mouse, and after I give birth, my child would have to endure all this with me. The day Lin Miao gets bored and pulls that fake death stun again, my child and I would have to be buried alive with her, wouldn't we? I suddenly found it ridiculous. I recalled how not long ago he grabbed my neck and called my child a bastard, and then turned around and went crazy enough to dig up Lin Miao's grave. For news of her, he would kneel before the old master and willingly take 30 lashes, yet when he comes back, he would deliberately push me into a fire pit. Having grown up together, I'm not unaware of the rottenness in Huo Wenzhou's bones. The irony is that later he had already found out news of Lin Miao, yet he still wouldn't let me go. After years of entanglements, when it comes down to it, was it that he never loved me or that he no longer loved me? On the day of the divorce, Huo Wenzhou didn't show up. I was tactful enough not to call because I knew he was at the hospital with Lin Miao. She hadn't died, but she had multiple fractures all over her body. She also had temporary blindness. The two of them were like newlyweds after a brief separation, unable to be apart for even a moment. Huo Wenzhou even specially contacted the most professional medical team abroad. How devoted he was. I smiled bitterly. Since the agreement was signed, I simply contacted a lawyer to go through the litigation process. No other reason, just that it was fast. I casually bought a plane ticket to the south. I changed my SIM card and deleted all my social media accounts on the platforms. As I sat on the plane, looking at the layers of white clouds outside the window, I was suddenly reminded of my childhood with Huo Wenzhou. Our two families were close friends for generations, with deep ties. After discussing it, our parents simply bought houses next to each other. But my parents loved to have fun, often traveling far and wide, although they always went their separate ways. I didn't understand back then, and I foolishly asked Huo Wenzhou, "Why don't your parents play separately? Don't they like each other?" At that time, I was 7 years old. Huo Wenzhou, 11, was already a little adult. He kept a straight face, held it in for a long time, handed me a piece of candy, and said, "From now on, I will only play with you." I didn't understand back then, which led to when I grew up, my mind still didn't catch on, and I asked him again. At that time, he had already graduated from university and officially taken over the company. He was so busy every day that he didn't even have time to eat. A week before the end of my sophomore year break, he came back very late that day. Because he was so busy, the entire holiday, we had barely seen each other a few times. That night, I stupidly asked that question again. Only this time, he didn't give me candy. I remember, very clearly. He took off his jacket, cupped my face with both hands, and there were emotions surging in his eyes that I couldn't read. Because he had been drinking, as soon as he got close, I smelled the pungent smell of alcohol, mixed with a faint scent of tobacco. I wanted to step back, but he held me tight in his arms, motionless. His lips pressed against my ear, whispering words that made my face burn. "Tonight, it's just the two of us playing." My mind went blank, and before I could react, his lips were fiercely on mine. The September evening breeze carried a hint of chill, but it didn't stop the flowers from blooming quietly. The announcement on the plane rang out. I opened my eyes in a daze. I had actually fallen asleep. I couldn't remember the last time I dreamed of my childhood. As I got off the plane, I thought back to what happened after that night. Huo Wenzhou and I had solidified our relationship that very night, without any courtship period. Because that afternoon, he took me straight to get our marriage certificate. Then, he informed my parents. I complained that he was too overbearing. It left me no time to mentally prepare. He said, "Only by marrying you early can I feel at ease. We'll have plenty of time for dating. Ning ning, as soon as you graduate, we'll hold the wedding immediately." Back then, my heart and eyes were immersed in happiness, but I forgot that every order exists for a reason. We skipped the dating period, so naturally, someone would fill in that time later on. After getting off the plane, I couldn't be bothered to rush or transfer, so I randomly found a hotel and slept until the world went dark. I'm particular about beds, but this time I slept surprisingly deeply. I felt like I had slept for an incredibly long time. In a daze, I heard my phone ring many times, but I didn't answer. I just let it ring. Until the phone ran out of battery on its own. Then I fell back into a deep sleep. When I opened my eyes again, 4 days had passed. While recharging my energy, I also felt a lingering fear. What if I had died here and no one knew? My phone was full of missed calls and WeChat messages. I skimmed through them and replied to a few that caught my fancy. I also called my parents back separately. They stopped living together long ago, and the delay in their divorce isn't because of me. The main reason is that the people my parents find outside don't want commitment, they just want fun. And my parents themselves find it too much trouble. Anyway, life passes quickly, and when they die, they'll still be buried together. Apart from being fond of fun, they're otherwise fine. Back then, I thought I could accept that kind of marriage too. After all, it's just a lack of love. At least there'd still be mutual respect. Close my eyes and let it pass. But later I realized that the reason my parents could maintain such a marriage was because there was never any love between them in the first place, so naturally, neither cared what the other did. As for Huo Wenzhou and me, we had loved each other. We both knew what it meant to love someone, so I couldn't accept a marriage like that. He also couldn't accept Lin Miao's death. After we each hung up the phone, I received 2 bank transfers. There was no denying it, though they didn't love each other, they did their best to give me love. Among them, Huo Wenzhou also called me, but I didn't answer. I chose not to see. We were already divorced. There was nothing left to cling to. After lying in the hotel for a few more days, it suddenly hit me. I had nowhere to go. Thank the king of hell for letting me be reborn into a good family. Thanks to my parents' fortune and Huo Wenzhou's care, I had seen things since childhood that others might never encounter in a lifetime. Before marriage, whenever I had a vacation, I'd drag my classmates on trips all over the vast northwest of China, the Aurora Borealis in northern Europe, a dreamy, childish chase for the lights. At night, lying in a tent in the wilderness, I'd look up at the few scattered stars hidden behind the clouds. At that time, I dared to think, pursue, and act. Whatever I wanted to do, I would do it immediately. But after marriage, I could only be a Mrs. Hua who wouldn't disgrace Huo Wenzhou's face. Now I'm free, and I've picked up my old hobbies again. Every day I carry a small bag and go out to collect inspirations, stopping along the way. Occasionally, when inspiration strikes, I can produce good works. My rebuilt social media account has also accumulated many followers. I adopted a cat, but I'm terrible at naming, so I simply called it Xiaohua based on its fur color. Every day when I wake up, I see it curled up in my arms, meowing softly at me twice, which melts this old mother's heart. But I never expected to see Huo Wenzhou again. I was holding Xiaohua and going out for a stroll when I opened the door and saw Huo Wenzhou standing outside. I was only surprised for a moment before I understood. With his far-reaching connections, it was no surprise he could track me down. Inside, sitting face to face on the sofa, I waited quietly for the reason he came. Now that things had come to this, seeing Huo Wenzhou again, I was surprisingly calm. No accusations, no arguments. Now, he and I aren't even friends. I don't for a second think he came to me this time to catch up on old times. Xiaohua sensed the tense atmosphere and hid in her cat bed, refusing to come out. Huo Wenzhou scanned the room, his gaze finally settling on the person across from him. "When are you going back?" I asked. "Go back where?" "Beicheng." The air fell silent for a moment. Before I could speak, he added, "The old man is really worried about you. Meng Jingning, you're not a 3-year-old anymore. Running off so far without a word. Have you thought about how others feel? What's more, you're pregnant now. Come back with me, have the baby safely, and my mother will take care of you." Huo Wenzhou's voice carried a hint of exhaustion, but his tone brooked no resistance. A surge of irritation rose within me. He still doesn't know I've already aborted the child. Of course, his heart only has Lin Miao. He never cares about anything concerning me. If he had just bothered to check, he'd know that the bastard he once spoke of has long ceased to exist. If the Hu family hadn't forced him, Huo Wenzhou would never have sought me out on his own in this lifetime. I lowered my gaze and sneered, the mockery in my eyes deepening. I had the abortion. Thank Grandpa Hua for his concern. I'll visit him when I have time. You can leave now. It seemed like I was being unusually straightforward this time. Huo Wenzhou shot to his feet, his face dark enough to drip ink. He ground his teeth and said, "Say that again. Where is the child?" Afraid he hadn't heard clearly, I softened my tone and repeated myself. I said, "I've already aborted the child. Huo Wenzhou, we're divorced. From now on, please stop bothering me." With that, I turned and went straight back to my room. I don't know when Huo Wenzhou left. When I went out, I saw a bank card on the coffee table. What was this, guilt or compensation? After thinking for 3 seconds, I still took it. After all, who would complain about having too much money? This was what I deserved. I returned to my former carefree life. Just me and my cat. There was no longer any trace of Huo Wenzhou or Lin Miao around. Only Lu Ming occasionally contacted me, deliberately or not, revealing tidbits about Huo Wenzhou's recent situation and matters involving Lin Miao. For example, Huo Wenzhou's last visit to see me, neither the Huo family nor Lin Miao knew about it. For instance, Huo Wenzhou didn't bring Lin Miao home. He still kept her outside. Also, Lin Miao made a huge scene, gave Huo Wenzhou the cold shoulder for 3 days, and tried to pull her disappearing act again, but this time Huo Wenzhou didn't go looking for her, and she crept back sheepishly on her own. Lu Ming asked me what I planned for the future. I thought it over seriously and realized I had no plans. Life goes on as usual. The earth will spin without anyone. My past resentments have vanished with the wind. I just want to live well from now on. But I never expected old Master Hu to show up at my door in person, with Mrs. Hu beside him. Suddenly, I recalled last night's phone call with Lu Ming. The way he hemmed and hawed, dodging the topic. I immediately understood a bit. Looking at the two elderly people sitting across from me on the sofa, I felt both helpless and angry. This was emotional blackmail. No matter what, when I was with the Hua family, old Master Hua and Mrs. Hua were always kind to me, especially when Lin Miao's incident happened. For old Master Hua to go that far to defend my marriage with Hua Wenzhou, it was no small feat for this always upright head of the Hua family. Ning Ning, come back with Grandpa. I won't force you to stay with him anymore. I've watched you grow up since you were little. I'm an old man, and I don't know how much longer I have. Just think of it as keeping me company. As for the two of you, decide as you wish. Hearing this, I couldn't help but feel a pang in my nose. Grandpa Hua truly cared for me. He was already over 80, his health far from what it used to be. What happened between Hua Wenzhou and me shouldn't drag others into it. Hua's mother sighed, staring at my flat stomach, tears glistening in her eyes. Ning Ning, do you have enough money to get by on your own out there? Have you recovered well? She said, handing me a bank card. Take this money. If you don't want to come back, buy yourself something nice. Everything else is trivial. Taking care of your health is what matters most. Your parents are rarely around, and I've watched you grow up. Now that you and Wenzhou have come to this point, in the end, it's my fault too. I declined their kindness. As I left, Hua's mother wanted to say more but ultimately said nothing. After getting in the car, Mrs. Hua called her son. She said she was doing well now, and since he had chosen that woman outside, he should let her go from now on. What about the child? Is it really gone? Hua Wenzhou asked softly. Last time he went to see her, he didn't know what had come over him. He clearly wanted to know how she was doing. But as soon as the words left his mouth, they came out wrong. Hearing that she had really aborted the child, he felt an inexplicable panic. He didn't know where this feeling came from. After years together, he knew her inside out. She was tough on the outside but soft inside, no matter how harsh her words were. It was just to vent her emotions, to make him care more about her. So this time he also thought she was just lying about having the abortion out of anger. Unexpectedly, she actually went through with it for real. I didn't want to be disturbed by Hua Wenzhou anymore, but I didn't know where to go. If he wanted to find me, he could find me no matter where I hid. I knew that the Hua family's visit last time was at his behest. I didn't know what his motive was, habit, or perhaps mixed with a hint of reluctance, but none of that mattered to me anymore. After sitting by the window thinking all afternoon, I still didn't know where I was going. Before I was 5, I had nannies and bodyguards around me. After I turned 5, every day besides nannies and bodyguards, there was also Hua Wenzhou. It could be said that he occupied the most important part of my life. But so what? My life is still long. The past is past. From now on, Hua Wenzhou won't appear in my life anymore. That's enough. I gave up the apartment and booked a ticket to Hong Kong. As it happened, my mom was in Hong Kong too, worried I might do something rash. She insisted on dragging me around for ages, and along the way, I met her boyfriend. A very elegant man. Yes, elegant, completely different from my dad. He really knows how to take care of people. Whatever he does, he makes you feel at ease, without ever overstepping. Uncle Shun is the longest-lasting boyfriend my mom has had. He once proposed marriage, but my mom refused. They even broke up over it. Later, my mom smoothed things over with him, and now they get along well. Seeing the youthful, radiant smile on my mom's face, I couldn't help but laugh along. So what if there's no love? Life is full of beautiful sights. But can someone tell me why the people who shouldn't appear keep showing up, again and again? A week after arriving in Hong Kong, I saw Hua Wenzhou again, and an inexplicable rage suddenly surged within me. Recalling everything before, his inexplicable appearances, the Hua family showing up at my door. If I still don't understand, then I'm truly a fool. I raised my eyes and said coldly, "What exactly do you want? Do I need to repeat myself? We're already divorced, Hua Wenzhou. Could you please? I'm begging you, don't ever show up in front of me again, okay? Now, everything is as you wished. The bastard you mentioned is gone. We're divorced too. You can safely marry Lin Miao and have 100 kids if you want. I don't understand what you want by showing up in front of me again and again." I blocked him at the door and said a lot about the past, about Lin Miao, about the 3 years that once made my life a living hell, about the child I lost. With every word I said, his face turned whiter. By the end, I had vented my anger. But Huo face grew paler and paler, and his hand braced against the door frame. Pressing down hard, veins bulging on my hand, I couldn't close the door. The two of us just kept staring at each other. At this distance, I could clearly see the plea and pain in his eyes. After a long while, he slowly uttered a sentence. "I'm sorry, I regret it." "Ning Ning, forgive me, okay?" I bluntly said no, and immediately closed the door, cutting off all sounds from outside. This apology came too late. I no longer needed Huo. That love triangle back then consumed far too much of my time. I don't have the courage to recall it, and I will never look back. After that day, Huo moved in next door. Whenever I went out for inspiration or to walk Xiaohua, as soon as I turned around, I could see him following not far behind me. He didn't speak or come closer, and I pretended not to see him at all. As time passed, the landlady and the neighbors downstairs grew curious and asked me who he was. I told them the truth. My cheating ex-husband. People sighed and quite a few advised me. "Your husband is so handsome and rich, it's normal for him to cheat. As long as he is willing to come home. You can turn a blind eye. Yeah, it's no big deal. All you need to do is have a child. If I keep a tight hold on his assets, the mistress outside won't be able to cause any trouble." This world is truly ridiculous. When a man makes a mistake, no one tells him to change. Instead, they all urge the woman to swallow her pride. After hearing about it, the landlady felt sorry for Huo and even cut his rent in half, advising him to cherish such a good wife. "You need to hold on to her. I'm not blind. Old woman that I am, I can see that Xiao Meng still has feelings for you. Otherwise, why haven't I seen her go out on a single date in all this time?" The old lady said it seriously, even patting Huo hand with emphasis. I shook my head, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Is it common for old people to let their imaginations run wild? Lately, my mom's been the same. She beat around the bush asking if I had any plans to remarry. I told her very seriously, "I'm not a garbage dump. I don't take trash. I don't want to move again. It's too exhausting, and Xiaohua can't handle it either. But the gossip outside is driving me crazy. He seems to know exactly when I leave the house. Every time I open the door, I run into him with perfect timing, and when we go downstairs together, I always catch the neighbor 2 doors over smiling at us. For the last time, I've had it. Huo, don't you want me to forgive you?" It was the first time I had proactively greeted him since he moved in. His hand paused on the door, and the look in his eyes was full of expectation. "Yes, what do I have to do for you to forgive me? As long as you say it, I can do it." I knew he wasn't boasting. He really could do many things. "Huo, you've done so many things to hurt me. Why are you so sure that a few words will make me forgive you?" His face instantly turned pale and weak. He wanted to say something, but then realized that whatever he said would be futile because he knew himself that he was a jerk. The things he had done, even if left unmentioned, every night those past events would force their way into his mind, making it impossible for him to ignore them. All that remained was endless regret. Huo left that very night. 3 days later, I got a call from Lu Ming. "Zhou is in trouble. Will you come back to see him? Maybe it's the last time." After much deliberation, I booked a ticket back to Beijing. As I boarded the plane, I received a text message. Then I turned off my phone. I admit, I'm not a good person. My upbringing taught me that when you can't swallow an insult, you should take a step back. There might be a turn of fortune. By the time I arrived at the hospital, Huo condition had stabilized, but his legs were ruined. He would be confined to a wheelchair for the rest of his life. I comforted his mother for a while before entering the ward. Huo was covered in tubes. The ventilator beeped steadily. The doctor said whether he would wake up was up to fate. I leaned in to study his features. As handsome as ever, enough to make my heart race. But sadly, we can never go back. Our conversation that day was simple. I did nothing but tell Huo to take back all the money he had spent on Lin Miao over the past 3 years. Then I would consider giving him a chance. I didn't need the money, and neither did Huo. But Lin Miao did. Her family background was ordinary. Although she was an only child, her parents never gave her much love, spending pitifully little on her growing up. An opportunity to latch onto a big tree like Huo, she would never let go easily. 3 years, not short, not long. Her tastes had long been spoiled by Huo Wenzhou. It's easy to go from frugal to lavish, but hard to go from lavish to frugal. During those 2 months Huo Wenzhou was in Hong Kong, I would secretly take photos of him doing things for me and send them to her. The man who once held her in his heart. The man who cherished her like a precious pearl. This huge contrast would drive anyone to do crazy things. Especially when the man she loved reached out to her again, not because he missed her, but to ask her to repay the money. She had already spent all that money. I roughly calculated that Huo Wenzhou had spent over 500 million on her during those 3 years, at least on the surface. Under extreme circumstances, especially when desire is unfulfilled, people are very likely to do things they'll regret for the rest of their lives. Sure enough, unable to love him or get him, Lin Miao's extreme personality made her drive her car and slam into him. After leaving the hospital, I drove to a remote warehouse. After Huo Wenzhou's accident, Lin Miao was immediately taken into police custody. But because of the 3-year romance that had shaken the northern city, and because the Huo family's attention was all on Huo Wenzhou, no one bothered with her for the time being, assuming that the young couple was just having another quarrel. So, without much effort, I bailed her out of the police station. The leader, I had seen him a few times, one of my father's men. Seeing me arrive, he immediately came over and said, "Miss Meng, she's inside. How would you like to play?" I nodded, walked over to the table with props, and picked up a strangely shaped toy. "Let's go through all of these," I said. "Leave her alive for the police. Everything else is up to you."
Got it.
The vast northern city. All familiar places and people, but now I had no reason to stay here anymore. I said it before, I'm not a good person. Lin Miao's 3 years of provocations, Huo Wenzhou's partiality, and countless jeers. I became the laughingstock of the entire high society. And also, my first child, miscarried because of Lin Miao's provocation. I lay in the hospital for 3 days, and Huo Wenzhou never once came to see me. That was the first time I knew that someone like her existed. Huo Wenzhou had kept it well hidden. It took me half a year to discover that before. When I didn't know, he could still fool me. Later, when he was found out, he was honest instead. I still remember that day. I came home from the hospital. He was sitting on the sofa, holding the priceless jewelry he had won at auction. I could faintly see a name engraved on it, Miao. He said, "I've fallen in love with someone else. If you don't want a divorce, you can still keep the position of Mrs. Hua." Then his tone shifted, "But don't let me catch you doing anything harmful to her." With that, he left. From start to finish. He never asked how I was doing, never asked why I hadn't been home for 3 days, why my face was so pale, why my body was so weak. At that time, his heart and eyes were full of Lin Miao. Lin Miao had been tortured beyond recognition and was sent to the police station. With the Hua family's influence, her days inside wouldn't be easy. She should be grateful to me. After all, with me as a precedent, the suffering she endured later was nothing by comparison. I returned to Hong Kong and continued living as usual, maybe because I had been away for so long. Xiaohua was a bit distant with me and refused to rub against me. I heard that. Huo Wenzhou woke up. Knowing that his legs were permanently disabled, he remained very calm, only asking one question. "Where is she?" Lu Ming didn't know how to break the news. After a long silence, he said, "She's gone. News just came from Lin Miao. She's dead." Huo Wenzhou didn't say another word. With a calm expression, he drove everyone out of the ward, then smashed all the equipment. In the end, only muffled sobs could be heard faintly from inside the room. I went out as usual for inspiration, occasionally thinking about how the house next door had been empty all this time. Raising an eyebrow, I chose to move away. A person can look back, but they shouldn't walk back.